Hi there, my name is Vivian and I'm from ANU Academic Skills. In this video, I'm going to be talking with you about writing up a report for engineering and computer science courses, in particular focusing on the process of understanding the task. So when you first of all are given an assignment, before you start dividing up the work and before you start doing any of the analysis, try to focus on what is the key message going to be. So a key message is really what ties your whole report together. Every part of your report should relate back to what is that key message. So you're being asked to analyse a particular problem, provide a solution, or provide recommendations. And this means that you need to take a position or you need to provide a solution. So have clear reasons for that key message and focus on writing to persuade your reader of why that key message is logical. So common KEX reports include things like design proposals in engineering, where you might be asked to meet a certain set of specifications and propose a design. And in some reports, you might be implementing that design in relation to those specifications. So that would be where you'd report on how did you identify the particular design and how did you implement it. And then in computer science, you might be asked to analyze a particular data set or do some programming or coding in relation to particular problems that you're given. So in a design proposal for engineering, your key message is going to be persuading the reader why your proposal meets those specifications. In an implementation report, it's really about whether your implementation was successful or unsuccessful. So thinking about if you were successful, why did it meet those specifications and why was your design appropriate? Why was it successful? What were the advantages of it? And if it was unsuccessful, why was it unsuccessful? And what would your solutions be for next time? So what would your proposed solutions do in relation to the requirements, the specifications that would fix the problems that you encountered in your own implementation? And then in a computer science report, again, it's about being successful or unsuccessful. So was your programming efficient, for example? And in that case, if it was successful, you'd be talking about what were the advantages of the coding or the programming that you did. If it was unsuccessful, though, if there were limitations with it, it would be explaining why you encountered those limitations and why your identification of those limitations are the most likely explanations for the problems in your coding or your programming. And really, it's then your key message is about how could it be improved for next time, given the problems that you encountered. So thinking about your key message early on is really useful for the planning stage of your report writing. So before you even start writing, try to identify what is your key message going to be and focus on that as you're breaking down the task. So when you're given the task requirements or the instructions, think about what's the problem that you're being asked to solve and what's the potential key message that you could have. So here's an example engineering design report instructions. And in here, the part that jumps out at you is really this phrase, in particular, the optimality or goodness of the final design should be justified in the report. So your key message is really going to be about how good or how optimal was your proposed design. And then in a computer science report, again, you get given a set of instructions to follow. So a set of problems that you need to analyze. So you need to devise a particular classification or regression problem. You need to try and solve the problem in Python, determine the performance of your neural network that you've designed, and implement a technique from it. So your key message there is going to be about determining overall its benefit or lack of benefit. So given the neural network that you propose, overall, was it successful or not? What was the benefit or lack of benefit that it had? So the analysis that you do in your report can be taken from the course materials, depending on what your lecturer says. And your lecturer might ask you just to focus on the materials that they have given you. But in some cases, they might ask you to go beyond that. So they might ask you to look at academic sources. And those kinds of things can include things like your textbooks, for example, or other textbooks that you've identified, that you found. It can include journal articles and things like government reports and industry reports, where they're reporting on similar projects to the ones that you're talking about. You might also find that newspaper articles are giving you some up-to-date information. So for instance, about the context or the background of the particular design or object or program that you're using or data that you're analysing. And some websites might give you that background information. But really think about what is going to be most reliable and most accurate for your analysis. And that's where things like peer-reviewed journal articles are really useful. So the ANU library has some really fantastic resources about evaluating sources. So check those out to help you identify which source is going to be more accurate in your own analysis. And when you are working on your group report, when you are, for instance, working on an individual or a group report, think about identifying that key message early on. So if you are in a group working on the same report and each of you are thinking about how you're going to allocate different parts of the report, don't just jump into writing different parts of the report without talking about the key message first, because that way everyone might write up very different parts without a cohesive key message, and then the whole report wouldn't flow well together. So instead, really early on, if you're doing a group report, get together and have a meeting where you identify what your potential key message is likely to be. So even if you don't know the answers yet, think about what is the task asking you to do and what is your potential key message, and write it out. So an example of a key message would be something like this, where the simulation shows that there is a significant improvement and it can be more efficiently used in these applications. So that key message is talking about the overall benefit of their particular simulation. So in sum, break down the question really carefully and really focus on that key message. What is it likely to be? And if you're in a group doing this same report, meet to analyze that task and think about what your key message is going to be and write it out so that you're all on the same page in terms of that key message. And that will help you to write a really nice and cohesive report. Okay, so that's the end of this video talking about understanding the task. The next video is going to be talking about how you identify what to put in your executive summary and introduction for a report.